I'd like to present John Geisler, who is here to give on. I am really excited about this program because I love transportation history. So I am really excited to learn about the history of the West Michigan Pike, which includes some modern components you'll be familiar with today driving around town. So I won't give away any of the secrets or details, but John, please take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. Nate, did you get my report on Vic Bell?
I've heard a lot of things about it.
Well,
so I know.
It'll be in the mail. It's a criminal background check.
I'll watch for it.
We're going to have fun. All right. Now, he only gave me 2.5 hours. Not right? If you're going to tell me when an hour is up when I start my lecture, can you do that? Okay. All right. Am I in good company?
Yes.
Those are on my car. This one I don't have any more, but these are available. These two I just got Saugatuck last week. Yeah, and you can get them. Tell them John sent you and I get a rebate. I'll tell you where the shop is. I don't know the name of it, but you know where the stoplight is. The stoplight. You're going north on Butler, about the fourth shop on the right before you get to Kilwins. But there is a T-shirt thing, and they sell these inside. I just got it last week. I did not know there would be this many people. I did pass out some material. Those of you who are in front, you're going to have to hold them up so the people in the back can see them. But what's on in the handout will be on display here. Okay? And you will notice, I think, it says John Geisler, EDD. That stands for emotionally disturbed delinquent. All right? Doctor of Education, a quick summary of my background. I did graduate high school. I had to. My father was the superintendent of schools. Went to the University of Michigan for 1 year, and the Michigan U of M and I did not see eye to eye on something called grade point average. And the U of M won that battle, transferred to Adrian College, which is down in the southeast corner. I was born and raised 20 miles away in Morenci, Michigan, a small little town of 2,000 folks. It hasn't changed one bit since I graduated in 1956. I'm 79 years old. My wife and I have 5 children. It's a second marriage, and I keep losing track of hers. She has 2, I have 3. And we have 9 grandchildren between us, and 1 great-grandchild. I mean, I've been a good grandfather, now I'm great. Unfortunately, that great-grandchild is in Germany, and she's expecting number 2 this October. So, my career has been in education, essentially all my adult life. Graduating from college, 2 years teaching in a public school near Adrian, 2 years as an admissions counselor at Adrian College, my alma mater. Then I knew I needed further education and training, so I went back to college, went back to graduate school at the University of Toledo. 2 years to get a master's, and they asked me to stay, and I stayed 2 more years and got a doctoral degree, which is pretty quick to do that. 4 years to get those 2 degrees. Then I got a job at Central Michigan University. I love Mount Pleasant. You know, I saw a bumper sticker one time. I climbed Mount Pleasant. And that's not something I made up. Which means they climbed the hill about 10 feet high. It's flat. And then 30-some years at Western Michigan University, from which I retired in 5. That's 12 years. Oh, and since then, and I've been taking courses since then. Well, I got a 6-page resume I wrote. Don't need to take any more courses. Except I took courses that I was really interested in. My avocational interests. All right, so Civil War Class 2 Michigan history classes, state and local government, geography of Michigan, etc., etc. Non-credit, but I did all the work. Those undergraduates, those children, 18 years old. You know, anybody have grandchildren here? Is that right? I have, as I said, I have 7 of them, and I've learned something in my life. That is this. You have a unique bond and relationship with your grandchildren. Isn't that remarkable when you become a grandparent? And I figured out why grandparents and grandchildren have such a unique bond, and that is they have a common enemy. That's right. Think about it. So I started taking classes. One of the first classes was Michigan history. I didn't like history as a kid. I just didn't. But for some reason, I really got interested in Michigan history. We either had to do a paper at the end of that course or an oral presentation. You know how many papers I've read? 38 years in higher education? Thousands. I wasn't going to write a paper. I did an oral presentation. It's supposed to be 15 minutes long, 45. And it was on the Sauk Trail. Okay, and that's US 12 now, between Detroit and Chicago. At the time, it was the fastest way to get to Chicago from Detroit. I knew nothing about how to do history and the methods of history. I just got in my car and drove. Up and down, I put 3,000 or 4,000 miles on my car. And I do presentations on the Sauk Trail, West Michigan Pike, and the third one I do is Crazy, Unique, Weird Signs by a crazy, unique, weird professor. And I've done them now for 10 years. Anywhere, any place somebody wants me, I'll do it. I enjoy it. I'm a ham. All right? I understand that. So, here's what I'm going to do in my time. Now you can start. Now, there's no way in the time allotted we can do justice to the entire West Michigan Pike. I mean, it's impossible. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do 3 things. I'm going to talk about the West Michigan Pike from New Buffalo to Manistee. I'm going to restrict myself. Please understand, it's more than that. Okay? And the second thing, I want to pay particular attention to the Blue Star Highway for this audience. And I've added material on the Blue Star. Its history, its background, and why the Blue Star really only exists as a Blue Star in 2 counties. Okay? Van Buren and Allegan. You go outside those 2 counties, you will be hard put to see a sign that says the Blue Star Highway. And that's a very interesting phenomenon, and I have some ideas about why that's true. And the third thing I'm going to do, if we have time, I'm going to visit some ethnic resorts beginning in New Buffalo and go as far as I can go. And that's a very interesting subject, by the way. The ethnic resorts all up and down the shoreline. So that's where we're going to go. Now let's see if this thing works. This is one of my crazy signs. It has nothing to do at all with the West Michigan Pike, but it does have to do with a map. Now I don't think I can make that larger. But that's the 1978 official Michigan map, just a portion of it. It's where Michigan meets Ohio. Okay? This thing, I was going to use this pointer. Watch what happened. So I got a point. Okay? 1978 Michigan map, official map. If you can get a copy of this, you'll enjoy it. The man's name was Peter Fletcher. He was the chair of the Michigan Highway Commission. He was a graduate of the University of Michigan. He ordered the cartographer, the map maker, to put 2 fictitious towns on the map. They don't exist, but he put them in Ohio. Okay? So, the one, you see where Toledo is and where the circle is? There's a town over there, it's hard to see, it's very hard, called Go Blue. It said G-O-B-L-U. Okay? And about 40 miles west of Toledo, right there, is one that says Beat Ohio State. And it actually says Beat OSU, but that's what he meant. Okay, now if you want to go to, get you, if you have paper and pencil, I'm going to give you some things to look up and some trivia questions and material that you're going to be able to tell people about unique and different things about Michigan. This is one of them. All you have to do is put G-O-B-L-U on your browser, and the whole story will come up about this man and what he did. Governor Milligan was not pleased. He was not pleased. And the second edition and all of the other editions, by the way, didn't have that. They were going to fine him. They were going to figure out how much ink. True story. How much ink was on Go Blue? Okay, and 10,000 copies and they're going to charge them $17.80. So that's one of my crazy signs. And I got about 50 of them like that. Here's the story, a little bit of the West Michigan Pike. You can read it. I don't need to read it. I hate people who read what is obvious on the screen. Why put it on the screen?
Where's that sign?
This is in New Buffalo. Between, if you've been to New Buffalo, there's a stoplight downtown, just like on Butler and Culver, isn't it? If I remember right. There's one stoplight. Go toward the lake. And about, I don't know, 400 or 500 yards away is sign. This is a relatively new sign, by the way. Very new. So, these are the kind of cars that first went on the Michigan Pike. Okay? And this one was on M43 between South Haven and Kalamazoo. It's a 1924 Model T. And it was there for about a week and somebody bought it. These are the kinds of cars that were on the Pike. Right beside it is a pickup truck. Okay? And that was 1920 Model T. Somebody bought them for restoration. Here are some other cars that would have been on the Michigan Pike when it was open. You know where these are from, do you not? And if you've never been to the Gilmore Car Museum, you must go. It's got to be on your bucket list. You can spend the entire day there. They have old Tuckers. Remember the Tucker? With the middle of the headlight that turned? Yeah. Okay, now you have in your possession, some of you. I'm going to describe the West Michigan Pike. This is my Bible. This is where I got all this information. This is public information. I don't know if Nate has a copy of it here.
We do.
It should be, you do. Okay. This is is as much information you want to have about West Michigan as you're ever going to get. It's just marvelous what they have done. The Beach Towns project and the Michigan Department of Transportation. 2 volumes. This isn't 2 different volumes. This is 2 different volumes. And that's where I got that picture. It's all about the West Michigan Pike, but more than that, much more than that. It's the economic background of the area, the fruit farms, the agriculture, the ethnicity, the ethnic resource. It is a marvelous resource. It's worth your time to read that. So, I was going to use my pointer, but what you will often see is an advertisement saying Lakeshore all the way. Not true. 400 miles from Chicago to Mackinac. Before the Pike went in, it took 9 days to get there. Top speed on Michigan highways was 25. And in the city, 10. Okay, and they were terrible roads. I mean, if it rained, stay home, because you're going to get stuck. So, my program goes from St. Joe to Manistee, if we get there. Now, there are some side notes along the way. There is a road from South Bend. You see it? Mm-hmm. At one time, there was no road around the bottom of the lake. If you wanted to go to Michigan, you drove to South Bend. Okay? And you'll notice that Holland is off the water. Okay? That's because of what then was known as the Black Lake, which is Lake Macatawa. Muskegon is off the water because of Lake Muskegon. White Lake, Pentwater, and Ludington. And at Ludington, it doesn't show it very well. You've got to go 10 miles inland to Scottville, and then go up to Manistee. Notice there is a diversion. This right here, north of Manistee, was called the Great Divide. That was what it was called. And if you wanted to go up the Leelanau, you took the left hand, and if you wanted to go straight to Traverse City, you stayed on the right-hand side. It's called the Great Divide. Then if you notice, when you get up to Petoskey, you have a choice. You can go straight to Mackinac City, or you can go up to Cross Village, called the Tunnel of Trees. That road was laid out by a drunken sailor. I'm telling you, you better be careful when you drive down that road. It winds and winds in and out of the trees. It's amazing. So that's what the West Michigan Pike is. Now, in your program, and up here, I'm going to tell you where the Pike routing went. It was begun, the building was begun in 1914. It was finished, almost, in 1922. Part of it was covered with a Portland concrete cement, Portland cement concrete. The first mile of Portland cement concrete highway in the world was on Woodward Avenue in Detroit, 1909, between 6 and 7 miles. Highway engineers came around the country to see this new thing, a concrete highway. It was brand new, and much of the Pike was concrete. Not all of it. So, we started in Michigan City. Now, what you people have maps, you got to turn it this way. Michigan City is at the bottom of Lake Michigan. So we got 3 maps here. So you got to turn this. And here it goes from Michigan City to New Buffalo, up to Sawyer Beach, Sawyer, Bridgman, but you notice it's not straight. It is not straight, even though this was the new Miracle Road, the Pike. But at least it was paved. Okay? In 1929, this was all improved by what is now called the Red Arrow Highway. Okay? I have a half a dozen of these shirts. I got them in an exclusive men's store, Goodwill. You can buy these at a Goodwill store in Kalamazoo for $5. You really can. You sell them down in Saugatuck, it's $35. So, it goes up here, and here's the road from Niles and South Bend. That's what this road is. Okay? And they meet in St. Joe. The road over here is from Benton Harbor. That's not near the lake, because it goes over to Coloma and Watervliet, and then goes up to South Haven. All right? And the reason it went to Watervliet and Coloma is because of Paw Paw Lake. You have to understand how popular Paw Paw Lake was back in the day. There was an interurban train that went from Benton Harbor to Paw Paw Lake at least every hour, taking visitors. Back in 1915, 16, and before, not everybody had a car. How do I get to the lake? You take the interurban. It's like the interurban between Saugatuck and Holland, right? They call it a trolley, but it was. Well, it was. Now, whoops, this is the same map. Oh. Okay, quick. Now we're going to go from South Haven up through Saugatuck-Douglas all the way to Holland. But you will notice, as you look at Saugatuck and Douglas, the route went through Saugatuck, not around it. The bypass around Saugatuck was built in 1938. Prior to that time, you went through town. Period. You went up Butler Street and you took the back, what I call the back way to Holland. Is it 64? 64? That was the Pike. Okay. Now, when we get to what's that over there? Muskegon. You went through Muskegon and Muskegon Heights. There's the Black Lake. I'm sorry, that was Holland. That was the Black Lake. There it goes through Grand Haven, and it still goes through Grand Haven. Oh, when. At least an airplane that you can get on. That is the biggest bottleneck on the whole east-west coast. And then that goes up to, there's Muskegon Lake, see? You went through Muskegon Heights, Muskegon, and look at that zigzag road up to Hart and Shelby, Montague, Whitehall, and then up to Pentwater, which is the next one. And this is the last routing, and this still exists, this not road, but that goes from Wellington, then you go 10 miles east, and you gotta go, and then you go up to Scottville, where the community college is, and then you end up in Manistee. That's as far as I'm going to go today. All right? Now, in Grand Haven, there, by the way, there are no signs on that road that say it was part of the Michigan Pike, West Michigan. There are none, zero, which is sad. There have been superimposing new routes, and they've taken hold, like 31, US 31, which used to be on the bypass, right? Now it's out on the highway. Here's another signage that's superimposed. You see this one several times. Okay. Got this at the same store. Then, but at Fulton and 7th is a replica of one of the original highway signs. 350 pounds. 5 foot above ground, 8 foot below ground. 350 pounds, almost every single mile. Wow. So here's, you see the West Michigan Pike. And there's a sign beside it and tells you about the history of the signage. Before that, there were metal signs all the way to Magnum. The metal signs came down when these went up. And before these was this. It's hard to see it, and I can't enlarge it. I don't know how. You're talking to techno dummy here. But that's a man from AAA who has painted a telephone pole. Before there were numbered highways, there were motor ruts or motorways, and they were banded on telephone poles. This one was white on top and bottom and red in the middle. Now, if you got the code, you knew what highway you were on. That's how you knew to get someplace. Looking at telephone poles. That was before 1918. Now, some of you have this map in your material. I'm going to go over it quickly. This is the routing of highways in 1918. In 1918, Michigan began to number its highways. Prior to that, they were all names. Oh, you go down to Charlie's gas station and turn right on Angling Road. You know where that is. It was all names, no numbers, none, zippo. You imagine trying to get around the country and with no numbers? Wow. So the first numbers are there. 1918, the Michigan Pike up here was M11. If you miss, I called it the ladies' highway. Somebody said, why? I said, well, if you mispronounce M11, you'll understand. Emma, 11. Emma, you on Prozac here? Emma, 11. The road from Niles is M40 and it went up here to located, for those of you who know. That became US 31. US 31. But the federal national highway system numbering did not take place until 1926. 1926. And it went through Berrien Springs. This one was M58. Now look at M11. It goes through St. Joe, and these highways never went around the city. The purpose was to go to the city. The purpose since then, since 1956, is to go around the city. Okay? I used to go to Indianapolis a lot, and I went through the bypass around, which was busier than the main road through town. Now they've got a bypass around the bypass. Well, you do too. That bypass around Saugatuck-Douglas has been superseded by another bypass. A U.S. highway. To Waterville and Coloma, and then it went north. Now, here's something you may want to consider downloading. I have here the West Michigan Pike Tourist Directory from 1915. It's available on the web. I downloaded it. I can give you the website. It's easy, but it's fun to read because it has some maps, but it has written directions all the way from New Buffalo to Mackinac, all the turns. Here is the language from South Haven to Douglas. South Haven, Broadway, and Phoenix. Straight ahead to the end of the street. Cross the railroad. Turn left on Dickman. Dickman, and then cross the Black River on a drawbridge. That's right, still there. To the end of the street, right at the lake. You better stop there. Okay, and turn right on Lake Street. It's not Lake Street anymore. It's North Shore Drive, which has been closed for at least 2 years. It's true. It's been closed forever. Okay, past the hotel on the left. That may be what's Sleepy Hollow? Sleepy Hollow. Could be, I don't know. Come to the end of the road, at the end of North Shore Drive. That's where there's a roundabout now. You could not go straight, and you could not go right. You had to turn left. That was the end of the road. Turn left, curve to the right, past the hotel on the left, through the village of Glen. I have a place in Glen Shores, about 1.5 miles south. Then you come to 3 corners. Turn right. And then you go 6 miles, and you go past Ganges. What a name for a township. Ganges, right? There's a church on the left. Now, come to 4 corners. Turn right into the village of Douglas. Turn left around the church, curving right at the lumberyard. Cross drawbridge over what river? There you go. Keep to the left right away and go into the shore, along the shore, into the village of Saugatuck, and turn right at the trolley station. So, and then the whole thing from New Buffalo. Now, so what do I decide to do? I decide to go to Michigan City, follow those directions, and see where it would take me. Honest to God, I did. Well, here's the other side of the map. I'll just talk quickly. This is what it looks like now. This is now US 12. The blue is I-94. Okay? Here is old 31. You saw it on the previous map. The new 31, as you know, goes down Napier, and this is a 4-lane limited access highway. I dare you to find the Blue Star mentioned. I dare you to find the Michigan Pike mentioned. It ain't there. It just isn't. Three Oaks is here, my favorite little town on this soft trail. This route here, the BL, which means business loop, it really follows to a certain degree the old West Michigan Pike, because it went through town. Okay? So I get in my car and I'm going like, and by the way, you start at 0 on your odometer, and it'll say go 1/10 of a mile, turn right on a certain street, go 6.4 miles, turn left. So I started. You can't do it. I became frustrated because this is what I found. It's just hard to drive. When you've got that basically. Somebody said me that. That's part of my crazy sign color. I got a bunch of those things. And here's what I think happened real quick. You see a lot of construction going on. The workmen took those signs from the 4 corners and put them in one spot. But that is funny. Now, I did find a couple of sections of old M11. Oh, trivia time. Write this one down. Michigan and what other state call their state roads, not the federal roads, not the county roads, the state highways? M43, M89, right? You've been on these. Michigan and one other state use the first letter on all their state highways. Kansas. Many people are very surprised that that's the only two states that do that. What would you say?
What was that?
They're all M's. What?
What state was that again?
Kansas.
Kansas.
You notice when I said that 1918 map, M11, so forth? At that time, the Highway Department decided that every Michigan state road would begin with an M. I just thought that was, everybody did that. No. You go to, well, so what do they do in other states? Well, they'll call it Route 12, Highway 12, anything but whatever the state letter is. So M is unique. Michigan was the first state to do that. I don't know whether that's good or bad. This was found down near Harvard. I found the original road, which has been expanded. The original road, by the way, in Michigan Pike was 18 feet. That's not very wide. I dare you to go down that road at 70 miles an hour. And now in certain parts of the state of Michigan, either now or soon to become, it's going to be 75. That's insane. It's very troubling to me. I know out west you can go 80 in Utah and like, I understand that. But you can see, for 10 miles. 75 miles an hour is legal in certain parts in limited access highways. That's right. Here's the Dixie Highway, another named highway. We, Michigan Pike, became part of that. Starting in the Straits and going to Muskegon, that followed the routing of the West Michigan Pike. And then it went inland to Grand Rapids and then through my fair city, Kalamazoo. Some people say the Dixie Highway went from Sault Ste. Marie to Miami. No, the highways, plural. You had a lot of choices. There was no such thing as the Dixie Highway. Didn't exist. It was originally supposed to go from Chicago only, but everybody in Wales wanted to get on the bandwagon because they knew it was going to be a popular route. Red Arrow essentially goes on the Michigan Pike, goes from New Buffalo to Benton Harbor, and then you get on I-94. You don't have to go through that. You can go the old road. And the Red Arrow, by the way, the old road from New Buffalo to Detroit, went through Paw Paw, went through Kalamazoo, Battle Creek, etc. Okay. What was I going to say about that? But it was going to be very profound. I don't know about your memory, but I lose money betting on instant replay. Red Arrow honors the men of World War I and World War II, the 32nd Division of the Army National Guard. And for years it went from New Buffalo to Detroit. It started in 1953. And then our legislature, wise people that they are, said, no, we're going to take that away. You can have it now in Berrien and Van Buren counties, but no place else. What? Don't ask me. I don't know. They had it for 7 years, the whole state, across the whole state. And the other highway, of course, is the Blue Star. All right, I'm going to tell you the story of the Blue Star. Its origin, how it started, and how it got attached to where it is now. It started during World War I. A lady by the name of Gail Darling Siebold, S-I-E-B-O-L-D, lost a son in World War I. He wasn't even fighting for America. He was a pilot. He wanted to join the war effort. We had no Air Force, so we went to Canada. He became a pilot in the Canadian Air Force. He was killed. His body was never recovered. She went through a long period of grief, but then after several months said, I want to honor my son, and I'm going to honor him by calling up and inviting other ladies who lost children, men or women, in the war effort, WW1, the Great War, the war to end all wars, and we're going to be what we would now call a support group for each other. And they were, and they met occasionally, quite often, but then they began social service. They began to visit veterans' hospitals. They began fundraisers for the families who were still mourning their children. And in 1928, they became a national association. And they had banners, and they had flags. I mean, it was quite amazing. This thing spread across the country just like wildfire. The Gold Star Mothers of America. The Gold Star. And they started out with a flag, a banner, much like this, which you could hang on your window. Right? They started out with blue and gold. Blue meant you had an active service member still serving. Gold meant they had perished. If this person, this flag represented, died, you put a gold star, a little smaller, in the place, but over the blue flag, so it looked like a gold flag with a blue trim. Okay? That was the official flag of the Gold Star Mother. Now, fast forward, 1942, in Flint. I forgot to bring my water from Flint. In 1942, a captain in the he was in the Army, put an ad in the Flint Journal, an article saying, are there any mothers out there who would be interested in forming a organization for persons who are still in and alive in the armed service? He got 1,000 responses. 300 ladies came along about 2 weeks later, and they started to form an organization. It became the Blue Star Mothers of America. American Blue Star Mothers, and this was their flag. I remember seeing this in homes in my hometown. I really didn't know what it meant. I was born in 38, so the war was when I started, and when I was 3, over when I was 7. VE Day was June of 45. No, VE Day was first. Victory in Europe, and then that fall was VJ. But that's the origin. Now, how did it be associated with highways? Well, the answer is the New Jersey Garden Club of America, part of the Garden Clubs of America, decided to honor service people by beautifying highways. They planted 8,000 trees on the highways in New Jersey and put markers on the highways to honor people who were serving. And from then on, the Blue Star Mothers of America petitioned various states to have a Blue Star highway in their state. And Michigan said, okay, it's going to be US 31. That is our Blue Star highway. And they picked up the Blue Star because it was something that already, for 2 wars, was honored service people. So that was the connection between WW1, W2, and the Blue Star. And the Blue Star highway started in 1945. And it's been going since. Now, there's the routing. And that's US 31 back in the day. We're talking 47, 48, somewhere in there. Notice it starts out of Niles. Not out of Niles, it came out of South Bend. Now, most of you know, I'm sure, that odd-numbered highways run north and south. And if they end in 1, like 31, it'll go border to border. Oh, right there. How much money you owe me for this? All highways running north and south from border to border to the Gulf of Mexico, really, are end in 1, and they're all odd numbers. East-west, even numbered. Longest highway in the United States, US 20. Boston to the coast in Oregon, 3,236 miles. Okay, so, next. This is what you see in Van Buren County, this is what you see in Allegan County. Other counties don't do that. It's surprising, and I don't know the dynamics. But now, this is a memorial you'll find in South Haven. Those of you who drive down to South Haven on the old road, okay? The Blue Star will find, and you're almost to Myers, look to your right at the cemetery. You will see this marker. This marker was lost. It was on the old Blue Star Highway south of South Haven, and some people stumbled across. It was in a fire lane, and the marker, now this is the marker. This is the original marker. That's all the bigger they were. There was no sign like that. That was it. There are 10 of them up and down the Blue Star. Okay, this is what it looks like. This is a new marker. This isn't the marker, it's a sign. And that was redone about 5 years ago. They found it and they rebuilt it and they put it in a new place, but still on the Blue Star. And here is the marker, sponsored by the Village Garden Club of Detroit. Garden clubs from all over the state make contributions for these markers, not necessarily the garden club in South Haven. Okay? Now, there are markers in Niles. There are markers in South Haven, Saugatuck, Holland, Elk Rapids, Traverse City. Where is the highway marker that marks the memorial for fallen heroes in Saugatuck? That's an interesting question. And it's here. I was just there on Sunday. Well, it's pretty obvious you don't know. I mean, I'm a counselor. I can see concern. That's a sign they don't know. It's on the website. Here it is. It's out about 64. It's right on the right-hand side of the road as you're going to the Blue Star, around the bypass. There's the marker. Now, isn't it interesting? We don't pay attention. Next time you go by a memorial marker, you salute. At least remember that somebody remembers our veterans in Saugatuck. And who sponsored this one? The Junior Daisyville Garden Club from Mason, Michigan. When I leave here, I'm going to go up to Holland because where the airport is. I have information that there is a Blue Star memorial marker. There are other Blue Star Star markers that are not highway. They're on the byways and courthouses. There are 90 of them in Michigan. 90 markers. We think there are about 8 of the original 11 markers. They're still extant. They're still here, someplace. But about 3 of them are gone. Can't find them.
Where is this one again?
Where?
This one? Yeah.
Where is it?
I'm sorry, the one you said it was outside of Sonic.
What? Holland. The one in Holland? This is the one in Saugatuck.
It's right before Spectators. Spectators Restaurant.
On the right, Teddy.
It's on the right. Here's the rest of the area. This was a shelter at one time. And I believe if you look past the shelter, there's a grill. I think there was a picnic table probably. I think that shelter had a pump in there. I'm just guessing. That was put there in 1948, 10 years after the bypass went in. Pay attention the next time you go by, and stop if you wish to. What? This one is on the Blue Star Highway, before on the Blue Star going around the bypass, about a half a mile before you get to the interchange with the big highway. It's on the right-hand side. You really can't miss it, but just pay attention. Now, Blue Star is big here. This one's in Glen, and it's called Blue on Red. And there's a blue star out front, but behind it is a red building. That's in going into Douglas. That is a real sign. It was probably 3 years ago. They were building a culvert underneath the road. It was only there a week. Thank goodness. Okay, but you know, if you didn't know what the Blue Star was, then you would probably turn around and go back to Indiana. BS has several meanings. Where am I? Generally speaking, where am I? Here's the answer. I don't want to tease you. When you're driving down the road, and I took another picture, this is at the exit. But if you're driving down the road past the Fenville exit, soon you will see a sign that says, Douglas, Saugatuck, next to exits. It's very plain. I know I'm on a limited access 4-lane highway because the sign is green. The only place you see green highway signs is on limited access 4-lane expressways, particularly interstates. So if you see green, you're on a limited 4-lane. And if I get off at the exit, I guarantee you'll come to Douglas first. Why? Because if you were coming from the north, it would say next to exits, Saugatuck-Douglas. Okay, it's always in order. If you see more than one city, then you owe me again. I'm going to make so much money today. This is the new sign. In the last 2 years, it's all over Douglas, it's all over Michigan, it's all over Saugatuck. And in fact, in Saugatuck, this bike route is where the old West Michigan Pike was. And it goes up the back way to Holland. Right now, it goes from Sault Ste. Marie to Louisville, Kentucky. There's a bikeway the whole way. And you should see, go to a website which says bikeway, U.S. bikeways. you'll see the big map of what's going to happen in the next 10 years in terms of bike routes. Am I getting close? 20? Woo!
What does the 35 mean?
Just a route number?
The opposite.
Yes. No. In Michigan, they all say US 35.
Yeah.
Yes. And here's the routing.
Wow.
Now, it's really can't, from there you can't see, it essentially parallels 31. But if you look, you will see that it jumps around. See it right there? But it goes back and forth. And eventually, it's not all done yet. Up here, past Petoskey, you pass over Bayview. At Harbor Springs, you turn left to go to, no, you turn left to go to Harbor Springs.
Yeah.
So that's Cross Village. But obviously they are not on major expressways. They're on the off-roads that have dedicated bike ways. In fact, there's one right here, Douglas. Just before the stoplight, coming up from the south, this is what you'll see. You go into Douglas, turn left at the church, turn right at the lumber yard. Now, I'm spending a few moments with, this is the old welcoming sign, this is the new one. We're into a pure Michigan marketing plan and have been for several years. I won't read this, I'll tell you what it says. This was at the Welcome Center when you come up out of Indiana. It's the first exit. Go there. This says the old one is nearby. Well, people who have OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, when it says nearby, you gotta go find it. There's the old one. It was on US 12. It still is on US 12. That was built in 1935. That building's 82 years old. I found it. I don't think it didn't take some time. Here is that building as it looks today, 82 years later. The first year, here's another one. Here's another one. You ready for this one? The Welcome Center that is on old US 12, built in 1935, was the first information center ever in the United States. It's true. The first year, 35,000 cars stopped there. It was called the Michigan Travel Lodge, not Information Center. The new information, I have another picture of it from the other side. I was going down the road trying to find this building, and I finally found it. This is a little building, but the clue that finally gave it away is there were 40 parking spaces in front. Now, there aren't many businesses that have 40 parking spaces right on the highway. So that's how I knew it got. This is the new Welcome Center. You've probably been by it a lot of times when you go to Chicago. Next time when you're going out of Indiana, go and stop. It's huge. It is the biggest, it's the largest, no, that has the most visitors than any Welcome Center in Michigan. Okay? Okay, it has a small lighthouse. It has a lovely garden throughout. It's really a very relaxing place. And I don't know, but it looks like a Calder type, doesn't it? There's artwork there. There are historical signs there. It's really, really educational. It has one of the most unique playgrounds. What do you mean a playground? This is a playground for handicapped children, built for that particular population. And it's in our Welcome Center. I won't go much further. I'm I'm going to look at some, whoops, here's one. I started on, and I'll spend more than 5 minutes. This is the third part of my program. I started in Michigan City, and I tried to follow the old program as much as possible. And one of the sites I saw, and this was in the first, those of you who have met, I think the first village is Michiana, and then Grand Beach. Okay? Michiana had unrestricted covenants. Grand Beach, you better be Irish Catholic. And it would be good if your name was Daly. Because that's where Richard and his son lived, in Grand Beach, Michigan. And we have restricted covenants all over the place. I'm trying to find the one we had. Here it is. Glen Shores, that's where you have a little cottage. I will read to you quickly. Oh, go for, to learn what kind of families, go to page 13. Can live there. A number of high-grade summer home sites beautifully located between the golf course and Lake Michigan on gently sloping wooded land are available at Glen Shores Beach to approved families of the Caucasian race and the Christian faith. This was standard. This is, we say who not now, but you didn't say that back in 1915 and 19. So the question is, who do they include? You just heard. Here's the better question. Who are they trying to exclude? Right. Here's the answer. Blacks and Jews. And others. But essentially, that's what it meant. I remember when the SS Kuwait had a display, and I'm talking 30 years ago, 40 years ago, a sign. This is a Gentile community. In Saugatuck. That's our history. Oh, 1926. 26. Now, the first thing I learned about Grand Beach was what kind of home. By the way, in Grand Beach in Michiana, that's pure summer. There are no businesses. There's no grocery store. There's no manufacturing. All it is summer homes for people from Chicago. Grand Beach, the first 20 homes were Sears homes. You bought the kit, and you had it shipped by rail to the nearest railroad depot, and somebody had to go get it. You didn't need to have a builder's license to put it up. Between 1908 and 50, they sold between 70 and 75,000 Sears homes. And one of 3 levels. El Cheapo, didn't call it that. And then a middle range and a high-end range. And if you took all the combinations of, of placement of rooms, how many rooms? There were 447 combinations. And if you wanted to, you could draw up, have an architect draw up your building the way you wanted it, and Sears would build it. And the whole thing, I mean the whole thing, everything was sent to you. I think you had to put foundation in, I'm not sure. But everything else, this is a Sears home. And it's still there. It's been there for 70 years. This is in Grand Beach, it's a Frank Lloyd Wright home. There were many, many of these built The architect was Bill Jaska. It's of Swedish-German construction. All different kinds of sizes, colors, just a bunch of those. This is a little cottage. There were gorgeous homes in Michiana and Grand Beach, and there still are. There's also a motel on the highway, that's US 12 back down there. Here are two of them. New Buffalo. That's where the casino is. Also, a large group of Greeks had resorts there. Here's the railroad station, Daily. This is the PR market from Grand Rapids. Goes to Holland, you can get on it. And then, for goodness sake, it goes to Bangor. And there's a station there. It's open. And then it goes to New Buffalo. There's the station. That, I'm telling you, this is about 100 yards from the stoplight in New Buffalo. And that's exactly what it said. There's a wonderful railroad museum there. This is the Pullman car, and it was a troop carrier in World War II. You can go in, that's what it looked like. Three Oaks is my favorite town. I'll just mention a couple of things. This is the E.K. Warren Administration Building. E.K. Warren was the inventor of the feather bone.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? We're going back to the late 1800s. Women had big figures like that. Well, you wanted to get your waist to 22. How did you do that? You wore corsets. Okay? And what were in the corsets were stays made out of whale bone. They were very expensive and they smelled. Okay? So Mr. Warren found a way to take turkey feathers and make stays out of them. And he built an industry around that. This is the administration building with the Featherbone Company, which still exists. They now sell baby clothing. They're in Atlanta. This is now a library. Isn't that a library? It was a bank at one time. Here's the chandelier in the library. This is the cannon. It's called the Dewey Cannon. Remember Admiral Dewey, Spanish-American War in the Philippines? There was a fund drive to help the veterans and their families of the Spanish-American War. And there was a prize. And the prize was based upon how much money per capita, which is a fair wage, would get the cannon. Okay? Three Oaks won out. $1,400. 1898, I think. And they got the Dewey Cannon. Now, I'll finish with this. If you ever go to New Buffalo, you must go to Troy. That building was built in 1857. All right? It still exists. It was a wagon repair shop for many years. Then it became the Union Meat Market. And one of the people who worked was a 10-year-old kid whose name was Dreyer. And he delivered meat to the people around Three Oaks. He later on bought the place. He began to work for him as a clerk. He was a graduate of Albion College, by the way. And it's now in its third generation of owners. They're all Dryers. The building looks exactly as it did 160 years ago. It's amazing. You don't find any shrink-wrapped meat in this place. It's all hand-cut. And they use honest-to-goodness butcher paper. You remember butcher paper? The butcher would cut it up and wrap it in there and then tie a string around it. The string is still there.
Bologna at its best.
Bologna. By the way, that bologna is summer sausage. It's not the bologna you buy. It's summer sausage and it's great.
Was that in 3 Oaks or?
Yeah, 3 Oaks,
3 Oaks?
right downtown.